Linda Alessandro.
And I'm Sofia Manolesco.
And we're your hosts for today.
And every other day. Okay. And all the other days to come. But we are going to have some very interesting guest speakers coming up. I believe it's going to be, we have a doctor.
Dr. Ellen Kamai is coming.
I'm sorry? What?
Dr. Ellen Kamai. She's an expert in nutrition and herbs. She has a PhD. She lectures to doctors around the world. And she has lots of interesting things to say.
Right, so we're going to have...
I hope you join us. It's going to be a couple of weeks. We'll let you know when.
Okay, very good. So we're still discussing nutrition today. And the first thing that I wanted to bring up is it's been on my mind, this thing that we have believed and looked at for so long. And it is a food pyramid. What do you think about the food pyramid?
Well, I think the food pyramid is outdated, and that a much better representation of how we should eat is the Physicians Committee for Responsible Medicine has put out a food guide.
The Physicians
Committee for Responsible Medicine. It's PCRM.org.
Uh-huh.
And they were actually 5,000 medical doctors back in 1995 that sued the American government for endorsing the milk is good food campaign.
Okay.
Because milk is really meant for cows. So
I like milk.
Yes, it's good.
I like raw milk.
You could,
right?
Yes, raw milk is good. But we drink and eat too much of it. And milk is meant for a baby cow, and their nutritional needs are way off, way different from ours. So milk has too much calcium for us humans. And what ends up happening when we take in too much calcium, it excretes the calcium out of our bones. Worldwide, Americans consume the most dairy and have the highest rates of osteoporosis and osteopenia. So how is milk helping our bones? It's true milk had a lot of calcium. So back when those ads first started, people thought, well, a lot of calcium, we can promote milk is good for your bones. But it has too much calcium. The nutrient profile of milk is just out of whack. It's just way too much. And us humans like to consume a lot of dairy, a lot of cheese, ice cream, milk, what have you, and we're taking in too much. Again, as I said, we consume
right. So it's got to be moderation. And I think, on the topic of milk, because it is a kind of a controversial topic, right? It's like meat. Some people really believe in that. Some people don't. Some people believe in milk.
It's also highly processed.
Right. It's the most important thing is if you are going to consume dairy products and milk, consume them in their most natural state. Like I've been, I will consume on occasion raw milk, right? But I buy it frozen, and it's preserved in such a way where I'm not endangering myself. But unfortunately, anything that's over processed, over pasteurized, and we get a lot of that, then you're basically you're not getting any of the probiotics. You're not getting any of the good nutrients.
That's right.
And you're getting, this processed food. It's the same thing with all, the fat-free, cottage cheese, fat-free this, fat-free that. It's processed, right? So if you're going to have it in moderation and in the most natural, as close to the cow as possible. Right? Somebody asked me the other day, when did you ever drink raw milk from the cow? And I'm like, once when I was 13 and we were on a farm and I, actually got to experience. It was good. Yes, it is. It is. And again, in moderation, right? So the food pyramid, you were saying back to the food pyramid.
Right. The Physicians Committee for Responsible Medicine came up with a food pyramid, which is much more the way humans should eat. And I should have brought it in so I can accurately quote from it, but it's more fresh fruits and vegetables, beans and legumes.
Right.
Not so much carbohydrates.
Yeah.
And because the carbohydrates that we're eating today in society are refined. The breads are refined. The sugar is refined.
Yeah, most of the starches are refined.
Right. And we want more complex carbohydrates, which is what is on their pyramid. And their percentages are different. So you need to look that up. I don't have it off the top of my head, but it's a much more natural way to eat.
Yeah, I think it's about 60% of your daily food intake should come from vegetables, fruits, legumes, nuts, right? Yeah. Like 60%. Which, it seems like a lot, but it's really not, right? It's really not a lot. You're supposed to eat like that, right?
Right, exactly.
Right. I mean, if you're not eating 60, maybe 70% of your food, if you're not getting your nutrients from live food, 60% in your diet, then what exactly are you eating? Right. Then you have to ask yourself, what is it that you're eating? Where's
conscious eating. That's conscious eating.
Even the other 40% we're talking about, like what's the other 40%?
It should be like food that contains life force. And it really shouldn't be food that's processed at all. In order for you to get the benefit of the life force in the food, which we said again are the vitamins, minerals, enzymes, you've got to be eating live food. And I'm not talking about live animal food. I'm talking about plants. Plants, grains, seeds, nuts, that type of thing.
Right. And you have to shop on the periphery of the store. Like once you start going through the aisles, right? And you have these items that last forever that have all these ingredients in them that are chemical. And then to take it a step further, and I actually wrote this here because we're going to get back to the food pyramid, right? But lately I've been, I think that it's been more popular to discuss this, but we're talking about food additives, food colorings that you're going to find, in juices, in Gatorade, in desserts, in Jell-O, and in cereal. And then, you go down the list of processed foods, and processed foods have these chemical components in them, right? Which, if it's chemical, it's not good for you, right? If it's artificial, like artificial color, artificial sweeteners. If it's artificial, it's chemical. It's not good for you.
There's a lot of people out there moaning and groaning, but we've been conditioned to eat these foods, and we have to decondition ourselves, or at least cut them way back. Back. Make them as a treat, not the mainstay of your meal.
No, and they have these apps, and next time I'm going to have the name of the app where you can actually put your phone on the ingredients in the back of the food, and it'll tell you, if it's good or not. Or bring your glasses in, read what's in the ingredients, because we're talking about these artificial colorings, right? You're ingesting, and the kids, they like the Fruit Loops, they like the Jell-O, they like the Gatorade. You're giving this to your children. And it's the artificial colors we're going to talk, they're talking a lot about that I took here. It's called tartrazine, TARTRAZINE, right? Which is E102, which is a coloring that's being put in foods that was originally designed for fabric and for wool. So a coloring that is artificial, that comes from a chemical compound. We're not talking about a coloring that comes from nature, from grinding cumin and turmeric. Okay, we're talking about an artificial color that is a chemical compound that was originally designed to dye wool and silk. And they're taking this compound and they're putting it in food. Right?
We don't need that.
And they've actually linked, the more they're studying this, because let's not forget, there's a lot of lobbying going on, in case you haven't noticed, right? So these companies that lobby the food industry, and they're putting these chemicals in the food. And they all say, if it's just in small amounts, then it's really not going to harm you that much. Right? The little pink Sweet and Low packets used to have written in red on them, may cause cancer in lab rats. And then I believe sometime in the early 2000s, when around the Bush II era, something happened in Congress. I'm not saying he did it. I'm just saying it happened at that particular time. I remember that warning that said may cause cancer in lab rats is no longer being shown on the little pink sweet and low packets because it's such a small amount that it's really not going to harm a human being. Well, I'm sorry. If it causes cancer in lab rats, I don't want it in my body.
Right.
Right.
And you should know.
I mean, lab rats are a lot tougher than we are. Okay.
Yeah.
So in terms of diseases and tolerance level, and if it causes cancer in them, then we should definitely stay away from that. From that.
And you know what they say, if you can't pronounce it, and if it's more than 6 ingredients, you shouldn't buy it anyway. You ever see the paragraphs of ingredients of food?
Yeah.
No. When you're eating, you shouldn't even eat 6 different things, they say at one time. Then all those 6 different ingredients. You want to eat simply. Again, you don't have to become a purist, but you do want to weed out the chemicals what are you getting out of them? It's like the story I told you before with the doctor saying that people now who pass on.
Yes, that was the previous episode.
Yeah, their bodies last for 3 weeks.
Gave me.
Yeah.
Ooh, it gave me the heebie-jeebies. Yeah.
So it's if it's not food, it shouldn't be in our food. All right, that would certainly cut down on the problems that we have in society today with people getting sick.
Well, people are getting sick because of what they eat. Right. This is not a hard science.
Well,
right?
I'd like to take it to the next step.
Yeah.
Sophia, you said you are what you eat.
Yeah.
The second half of that by Buddha is you become what you think. So I think it's a combination of what we eat and what we're thinking, what we're exposed to. We're exposed to a lot of negative stuff. And unfortunately, I've seen it in myself, and I'm working on myself diligently, the negativity that comes out. And you can get shocked because I thought I was a positive person. But, the things that you say to yourself are important. How you feel, what you think about others, it matters, and it matters to your overall health. Of
course. And so we're looking at these, we're talking about the kind of nutrients and the food, right? So in this podcast, we're focusing more about the kind of food that you should be eating. We talked about 60% of your diet should come from fresh fruits, legumes, vegetables, grains,
nuts and seeds,
and there's so much out there.
Oh yeah.
Right. There's so much good stuff out there. I mean, we live in America. You go into the supermarket and you have such a variety of fruits and vegetables. Try something new. You can get on YouTube and get recipes of new, beautiful recipes of wonderful, healthy recipes, good food that can replace the bad habits.
And there's even restaurants out there today that you can go to that you wouldn't know it was a vegetarian or vegan place because they have meat analogs that they make from scratch, no less, on the menu. So you can have chicken cutlets, you can have shrimp scampi or something. You can have these things, but they're all made with natural ingredients, and they're good.
Yes, and when you're making the good, beautiful food at home that makes you feel good, you feel good about yourself. You're eating it. You don't feel like that sluggishness, and you don't feel the guilt, and you don't feel, and the way that foods affects our thinking, right? And our brain, our mentality, everything starts with nutrition. It really does. And when you're eating these bad foods with the tartrazine, also known as E102, that produces the yellow, the bright blues, and the greens, right? They all come from this food, this fabric dye that we're putting in our bodies. So it causes attention deficit disorder in children. It causes respiratory problems. It causes skin problems.
How does it get passed?
Hyperactivity.
How is it allowed?
Well, how is it allowed, right? We think of this. Well, how is it allowed? Remember when people used to cook with Teflon? And then they discovered that Teflon is so toxic that is basically, it's like the radioactive material. It never goes away, right? When you have that chemical in the ground, in the water, and it stays there forever.
We have to question everything, Sophia.
We have to question everything.
That's the bottom line.
Yeah. And we're allowed to. And you know what? Yeah. We're allowed to, because we have proof now that what in the past was considered a conspiracy theory, oh, you've got a tinfoil hat on, they wouldn't be doing this to us. Oh, they, them, the ones who have the money to lobby and pass the laws, they wouldn't be doing this to us. And then you realize, of course they would.
Well, and also, Sophia, and also you have to realize there are a lot of innocent people out there, meaning who are part of the decision-making process, who don't realize we happen to be interested in nutrition. So we've been studying nutrition forever. Those people have different interests. So they don't know much about nutrition.
Right.
So they go, well, what's the harm? It's, it adds color, a little bit of this, a little bit of that.
Little, you know what? I really don't drink that much Gatorade, and I don't eat that much Jell-O, and I don't have that many Doritos that it really makes a difference. So, okay, great. But if you look at everything else that you're eating, right? If you even look at some of, something like oatmeal, right? Which is good for you. Oatmeal is good for you. But then if you pick up an organically grown pack of oatmeal, and then you pick up the Quaker Oats oatmeal, and then you look at the ingredients, and you can compare and see that one of them has, made with real oats, and the other one has tartrazine, E number 2, E number 5, artificial flavor, artificial this, artificial that, the gum, and you go through these things, and you start reading this, and it's a nightmare, right? Like you can't be healthy if that's what you put in your body, and it adds up. And you have to become aware, right? And we have to become aware, and we have to be conscious of what we put into our bodies. It's really not that hard.
Yeah. So we just have to retrain ourselves to eat consciously, to look at all labels, to be selective. We have to be choosy about what we're consuming. Right. Because what you eat is going to impact your physiology. There's just no question about it.
Yeah, and it's got to be also, organically grown, no pesticides, no GMO. We're talking about genetically modified food, right? Genetically modified food. How can that be good for you?
There's a new name they have out for it now.
They're trying to trick us.
It's something engineering. I have to think about what it is.
Yeah. Okay. Well, I don't want food that's been engineered.
No, you don't want food that's engineered.
I don't want food that's engineered. I want nice natural food. I want organic food.
I met a yogi once. He was 116 years old. A friend of ours took us to see him.
He was actually 120 when he was lying about his age. No.
He was amazing. Amazing. The guy was spry, jumping around. He jumped up onto a stage and sat on the stage. And we sat in chairs looking up at him. He then, was speaking, talking about his life. He was very much into yoga. He was from India. He was a vegetarian. And he grabbed a dictionary to look something up, for translation purposes. You know how small dictionary print is. He read it without glasses. Mm-hmm. He didn't need glasses. And I hope to be saying the same thing soon.
Right.
But the guy was in shape. He moved around like a much younger person. So he exercised and did yoga every day of his life, which in my opinion, I know yoga can be hard, but it's not as hard as some other exercises out there.
Right.
But he did yoga every day. And he was a vegetarian. And by the way, Dr. Dean Ornish reversed heart disease. He reversed heart disease. When he first came out of it, he rocked the medical world with the knowledge that he was initially timid to present, but he had successfully reversed heart disease in 80% of his patients who had heart disease. Mm. And what was their protocol? They were on a vegetarian diet. They did meditation, which calms the body, and they did yoga. That was how he reversed heart disease.
Awesome. And we're talking about the mind again. We're not going to let you off the hook with this, with the mind, because when we're eating, right, you cannot eat in an atmosphere that's making you upset.
Right.
Very important. If you don't want to put on weight and you want your digestion to go smoothly, you have to eat in an atmosphere of happiness and gratitude so that all your hormones and all your chemistry is aligned for better digestion. Okay. And in the first episode, we were talking about how, you can be really upset and really stressed out. And if you try to eat, you're going to have, the burn, and you're not going to digest, and you're going to be nauseated. And sometimes, if you get bad news, you can feel like you're nauseated. And if you're stressed, you're not going to want to eat.
Yeah. The body interprets that as fight or flight.
Right.
And so all your blood goes to your muscles because it thinks you're going to be fighting or flighting.
Thank you. Very important. Right. Yeah.
So
tell us more about that.
You don't have the blood available for digestion.
Right.
So that's not a good idea to sit down upset, angry, mad. Again, the body thinks it's in fight or flight, and 1,200, not 12, but 1,200 different toxic chemicals get released in the body with fight or flight. You get rid of them when you're fighting or fleeing, running away, but not if you're just sitting down, going through mental gymnastics, being upset or angry or what have you. Right.
And how many people are having dinner, watching television, watching the nightly fake news, getting upset, getting all these, because all they're doing is showing you negative things, because that's what keeps people engaged. Right. And all of those things are extremely unhealthy. And by the way, just as a side note, don't eat before you work out. I tell this in my classes. I tell this to my students. I tell this to my personal training clients, and I'll tell this to my friends and to our viewers. Your body cannot do two things at the same time. It can't digest and do another type of work because you only have so much blood in your body. So if your blood is not going to your digestive system, if you just ate and you go to work out, now you're recruiting the blood for your muscles. You're taking blood away from your digestive system. You're neither going to get a good workout, nor are you going to have good digestion.
That's right.
So the only kind of exercise you should do after you eat, if you had a big meal in the evening, take a walk around the block slowly, right? A nice stroll. That's the rabbis say after a big meal, you take a 15-minute stroll around the block. Yeah. That's healthy. That's about the only thing you should be doing right after you eat a big meal.
And do you know Edgar Cayce? Many of you know who he is. He's known as one of the greatest psychics of the 20th century. He came up with the saying, after breakfast, work a while. After lunch, rest a while. After dinner, walk a mile, which you do.
Okay.
You guys go out and walk.
We take a little. Yeah, we do that. We take a little stroll after dinner. It helps digest.
Yes, that's right.
Get some oxygen in there, and you have to give after you eat. You have to allow your body about an hour to digest. So neither intellectual work nor physical work. You got to do something lighthearted.
Yep.
And get your mind off of serious topics.
Right.
Because your emotions affect everything in your body. Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah. Do that.
Very important.
Yeah. So I think, we're talking about, so the food pyramid is out. Forget about the food pyramid, right? Go with approximately 60% fresh fruits, vegetables, grains, nuts, beautiful stuff out there.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. And, very important to do it slowly. You don't have to do it all at once. Some people can do that, not many though. People have to do things gradually and get accustomed, turn it into a habit. If you try to do too many things at once, that could be a recipe for failure. But if you take on a little at a time, like I am cutting, say to yourself, I'm cutting out, white bread. I'm cutting back on bread. That's a good thing to do.
I'm cutting back on artificial sweeteners.
Yeah.
How's that?
That's
okay.
Great.
How about that? How about you start with, you get some nice organic stevia, and that's a good, they have all kinds of brands. Because people say, I don't like the taste. You got to find one you like.
I purchased stevia leaves, and you can get the herb out there. First of all, it's delicious. And it's food. It's actually food. It provides other nutrients for the body. Not only the sweetness,
I'm going to try that.
It's really good. And so try to get everything in its natural form. And, we've been doing this a long time, but we started somewhere. We were just like you guys, or many of you out there who, were just eating things off the supermarket shelves. Right. You have to make a change. You have to, and little by little, if you add things in, like eliminate, processed sweeteners, drink more water, at least 8-ounce glasses a day. Start doing those things and making that part of your daily routine.
Right. And don't be fooled by your ego and your mind saying, well, I don't like it. Or, oh, but I like it, right? I don't like it. I don't like that kind of food. Or, oh, I like this food too much to give it up.
Yeah. Do you know what my sisters used to tell me? They used to say, oh, that doesn't taste good. And I would be like, oh, I think it tastes delicious. And they used to say to me, you just like it because it's good for you.
Well,
But it was, yes, I actually mentally talked myself into eating it. Everything is mental.
Yes.
I mentally talked myself into having it, to consuming it by knowing it's good for me and it's going to do this, it's good for this. So it's good to read up on things.
It's different, right? It's a different, when you start eating healthy, what I find is when I eat healthy, I feel good about what I ate. So I don't have the same restrictions as if if I find myself in a situation where the food is not so healthy or, it happens, right? And I just don't feel good when I'm done eating it. Versus if I eat the good food with the good nutrients, I feel good about what I ate. I feel good about myself.
And that's important.
Yeah.
That's so important.
Very important. Yes. So I think that, we're going to keep going with the idea of nutrition. Like I said, we're going to have the doctor come on in.
Yeah.
And she's going to be talking about that.
It'll be coming up throughout every podcast, because these things are intricately involved with being healthy, feeling well.
Yeah, I'm gonna keep hammering it in.
Sure.
Hammering it in. You gotta eat healthy, eat close to nature, eat sun-kissed foods.
You'll feel much better.
You'll feel better. You'll get healthy. The food will heal you. We know that foods have all these healing properties, and the food will keep you healthy. If you're healthy and you don't have health problems, then you start eating healthier. You're going to stay younger and healthier for a longer time. We have so many amazing things to share with you guys, a little at a time. We want to thank you for tuning in today. We enjoyed spending this time with you, talking about nutrition, how we can get healthy, and we welcome you back to our next show. Yeah, and don't forget, if you're interested in classes and personal training, you can reach out to Body Wellness, you can reach out to me, you can send us an email, you can click on the website and get more information, and we'll take it from there. And welcome to the next beautiful day of your life. Love that. Yeah. Okay. Thank you for tuning in. Thank you. Bye now.